Hi everyone, my name's Agnes, and today I'll be reviewing Mirror Shoulder Signal by Dorthe. This was translated from the Danish by Misha Hoekstra, and the novel follows Sonja, a 40-something-year-old woman who lives in Copenhagen and works as a translator of Swedish crime fiction. And the novel basically centers around her struggle to get her driver's license, so we get to hear her inner thoughts about her everyday frustrations and the current state of her life, as well as how she's trying to change the course of it. She feels stuck, so through this symbolic and small act of learning how to drive, she seems to be trying to become more in control of her life. And she's also suffering from a special form of positional vertigo that she's trying to hide and that hinders her efforts. The novel explores the life of a career woman who lives on her own and isn't defined by her relationships to other people. In some ways, it's also an existential novel. Sonja is very superstitious and fatalistic. She believes that to some extent her misfortune is predetermined by her brief encounter with a fortune teller. And Sonja also spends a lot of time worrying about her future and struggling to find a way out of her current situation. Sonja also spends a lot of time looking back at events in her life, especially her childhood, growing up in a rural area in Denmark where she had a very spiritual connection to nature that she can't seem to find in the big city. And one of the major themes of the novel is urban isolation. She doesn't seem to enjoy living in Copenhagen, and she wants to reconnect with her sister Kate, who stayed close to their hometown and made a life for herself there. The novel in general discusses this idea that young people from rural areas are encouraged after receiving their education to move away from their hometown in order to pursue a career in the big city. Urban life is seen as this way toward fulfillment, and for some it may be so, but for others it only leads to loneliness and isolation. I thought that was an interesting idea, but as a city girl born and raised, I couldn't really relate to that on an emotional level. And while the book discussed some very interesting themes, overall it didn't really work for me. I felt very emotionally disconnected from the characters, and some of Sonja's actions felt very juvenile. She's the kind of person who wants other people to reach out for her, but at the same time, in many instances, she seems very insensitive and judgmental about the weird quirks and beliefs of others. And I don't like saying this, but for me, this novel was just kind of boring, and my mind would constantly drift away to other things while I was reading it. I don't think it's a bad book. The tone is lighthearted and sometimes witty, but I felt that there wasn't that much on the surface. The style of the prose is minimalistic, and it felt like the author was inviting me to read between the lines and find some hidden meaning. And in some books that works, but in this case, I just honestly didn't care enough to search for it. I know that the author is better known for her short stories, and I believe that this story might have worked better in short story form or as a novella. So those are my thoughts on Mirror Shoulder Signal. I don't want to discourage you from picking it up. It's a quick read and it discusses some interesting topics, but it really wasn't my kind of book. And if you have similar taste in books, maybe skip this one. And thank you for watching.